Hey friends, coming to you live, but not from the Hollywoodland Hills. Good news, we have a few more episodes of the podcast that Bobby and I taped prior to his untimely passing, and hope you enjoy this one with the great Bruce Boxleitner. Bobby is at his charming best, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another exceptional episode of the Party Nerds Podcast, coming to you live from a triple secret location high in the Hollywoodland Hills of Los Angeles. I'm Richard Gabai, joined by my pal, the legendary Robert Carradine. And today we have a very special guest, the iconic star of stage, screen, and the big screen, Mr. Bruce Boxleitner. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Richard. Hey, Bobby. Well, here we are, the Party Nerds.
It's us, man.
Exactly. That's
I'm a bit of a nerd myself, yeah.
I had a
Yeah,
flashback.
sure.
You would not remember if it was true, but we were just now. I was looking at everything you did and everything, and we have 97 shared connections on IMDb, though we never worked together. But I believe that about 5 years ago we had a martini together at that hotel in Vancouver where everyone puts us when we do Hallmark movies.
Oh, yes,
that
at the
possible?
Sutton Place. The Sutton
Sutton
Place could
Place.
very well have been possible.
There you
I
go.
was,
So
how many years ago, Richard?
it was
about
five
five,
years ago,
maybe
6
more?
years ago, maybe more.
Yeah. I was up there, even in fact, during COVID. I did the last thing I ever did, a thing called the Matchmaker Mysteries with young Danica McKellar playing my daughter. Anyway, we were up there for 14 days in confinement, I call it. They
You had to stay
threatened
in the
us.
hotel for a long time, right?
Yes, we did, and the hotel was empty, or it had maybe 20 people in it, and they had them scattered throughout the hotel. But every American had to go through quarantine there, and it was quite an experience. Now, my wife and I made it. I know our marriage can last because 14 days, it's like convicts. I can do it, I can do it standing up, but 14 days in basically the Sutton Place, and they called it apartments, but I've been in bigger hotel rooms. So
And it got smaller every day.
it got smaller every day, and we had a little porch outside. We could literally walk outside. I was 12 floors up, and pardon me, we had our Saturday night date. We would have a little bottle of wine and a couple glasses, sit there in these parkas, because it was freezing cold. It was like February and it was raining. But that was us getting outside, getting some fresh air. It was a tiny, tiny little balcony on the thing. And anyway, I don't know why I got into that, but
Because I
we
brought
may
up the
have.
martini. I brought up the martini I think we had together 6 years ago. We were just both
Yeah.
there, and we just talked a little bit, and you said, well, I come up here and I do these Hallmark things. I think
Yes, I
it
did.
doesn't matter. But what's more interesting is that Danica McKellar is one of my great friends, and we made 2 movies together.
Yes,
For A&E.
he's a
for Hallmark.
sweetheart.
She's amazing. And a genius.
Yes, she writes mathematics, mathematic books.
She
Teaching
did.
and stuff like
She did an episode of King of the Nerds, which is
She did?
reality. Yeah, it's a reality show that I did with Curtis Armstrong, and she came in as one of our actual nerds to judge the wannabe nerds. It was pretty great.
She's terrific. She's
Just the
terrific.
idea that somebody wants to be a nerd and can't is baffling to me, having been a professional for
is.
most of my
It is.
career.
Well, no, that's the thing about wanting to be a nerd, because if you win the competition, you get money. It was a serious competition. And
Big
also,
nerd.
we had real nerds on the show competing to see who was the biggest nerd. So Danica was one of our judges.
She
She's
would
a
know.
beauty.
Hey, so, Bruce, you have like 1,000 credits. How did this whole journey start for you?
I would say, Richard, it started in high school. I tried out for everything. I was a averagely athletic kid, but I was better at baseball if I was good at anything. But I remember I was not the best student. Frankly, gentlemen, as nerds, I think I can say this. School was like prison to me. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be doing things. I wanted to be, it was just confining. And I walked into, I mean, this is probably a cliche story, but I walked into an audition for the fall play in my sophomore year. I don't even remember my freshman year, but I've always been a movie and television fan. And for some reason, I walked in there and auditioned for an Agatha Christie thing called 10 Little Indians, and then there were none. And at that time in our high school, a sophomore could not have a lead role. And they liked me so much they broke that rule. And the older seniors were not happy about that. But anyway, and that's it. I got bit by the bug. I don't know. You know, I didn't know how I was going to go about it. But years later, we had won all sorts of awards the next 4 years of 3 years of high school. And I was in a unique bunch of kids that came together in this drama guild. And we were the drama nerds, by the way. If you were, I don't know, back in those days, if you were in drama, you had to be in, it's like being in band.
Yeah, no, you're a
You had to
geek.
be kind of a geek, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was a drama nerd, and but I was not a good student. Okay. And I regret that. I should have paid more attention, but I did bring back kudos and things from contests that we did in drama and stuff like that. We had a great bunch of kids. A number of them went on into show business, in fact. And this wonderful woman, her name was Mrs. Patricia Lukowitz, um, was the drama teacher and the English literature teacher. And she saw something in me and wanted to know if I was interested in ever pursuing being an actor. And there was this, this very hidden dream I had of doing that. And I always believe that could be one or two people in your life that are so influential that I will always bless her, thank her because she helped me. And my parents were scared to death. They're young, and he's going to starve to death. And what do we know about there's no theatrical background in my family. So she helped me get into drama school in Chicago, in downtown Chicago, the Goodman Theater, very prestigious drama school, but more a regional theater. And I went away to become Hamlet, and all during the Vietnam War. And Chicago was let me just say, quite an exciting place. It was a very rough time in our American history, as we all know. And Chicago was like one of the epicenters of all the violence and things like that. So anyway, it was an amazing period, and I went through drama school, and I later joined their company, and then the rest is history. I eventually went to Hollywood because I did a play in Chicago that took me to New York eventually on Broadway, and uh, got an agent out of that, and the show didn't last long. But I did get an agent, and a lot of people telling me, you should go out to the West Coast. I was auditioning in New York at Marion Doherty's agency all the time for movies and television, and this thing called television movies that were starting to happen. And that was it. I decided I wasn't getting anything going in New York. It's a rough town. And I did that play one more time in Chicago as sort of a return of that very popular play that died on Broadway. Uh, and I had about 2,200 bucks that I saved and about four or five phone numbers in my pocket and pieces of, not on a cell phone, but on pieces of paper. And I was told to look up people when I got out there. And I didn't know how I was going to go out there, but I bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. I said, I'm either going to make it there. I want to become an actor. I was always more intrigued with television. So maybe I can make it work. And it's warmer out there than Chicago in the winter or New York. And I could sleep on a park bench if I had to. Or I was going to come back to Chicago and do dinner theater for the rest of my life. Um, and slowly I started, I did get an agent, and he was very aggressive, and he got me out there. And hey, Bobby, do you or either of you guys remember Milton Katsalas? Have you ever remember
Absolutely.
acting
Yeah.
acting coach?
Yeah, both my brothers studied with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. And I was in one of his first classes in Los Angeles. He was New York based at the time, really a tough guy, but he was something else and he saw something too. And he really worked me. I thought everything I learned at 3 years at the Goodman Theater, um, I learned a whole different bag here in Hollywood. And, you know, and I got to know other actors, other young actors who all, like your brothers, went on, or they were already established, but they were there holding their craft. And it was a great time. Great
Hey,
time.
I want to ask you something, Bruce.
Yes, sir.
How did you avoid going to Vietnam?
Um, Believe me, I was in a few of those scuffles in the streets
Yeah, I bet you were.
because we did street theater. We
Right.
had a band of merry pranksters that went out and did street theater. And I remember we got shot at the south on the south side. We heard
Holy
gunfire. We
cow.
thought it was fireworks. But to answer your question, the state of Illinois had a lottery, right? And
Yeah.
you got a number. When we were 18, I remember three of us guys, my high school buddies and I, went down to the draft board because it was law that you had to go sign up
Right.
at 18 years old.
Yep.
I'm sure that wouldn't go over very big right now, but
No.
so we did. That was just the way it was. And my number was either too low or I think it was too high, to tell you the truth, Bobby. And believe me, I sweated it out all the way to 1973, I believe it was when
When
the
it was
draft
ended.
ended.
Yeah.
That
I,
was
I had I had number 3, and I was 1A, and it was not
Well,
good. And then they ended the draft before I would have had to deal
yeah,
with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I remember that. But I remember all those years working, thinking, I'm going to get called up. I had a roommate. A bunch of us guys had an old brownstone up on the north side of Chicago, Party Central. Talk about party nerds. Oh my God. Anyway, we had some raucous times.
But you ended up,
Anyway,
I mean, you ended up starting, and somehow you are on every classic TV show in history.
oh my God. I've been very fortunate, Richard. I'm
Hawaii Five-O, Policewoman,
Yeah, I
Beretta.
started with all those little bit parts, and I was mostly a kind of a young punk or a thug or something. I remember I had to try to kill Stella Stevens. I would have never killed Stella Stevens, I guarantee you. I was totally in awe. I had to grab her around the waist, and I thought, oh my gosh. Anyway, and then I had Angie Dickinson, all these kind of
Oh,
all
poor
stars. I
guy.
was policewoman, you know. So the poor guy. But yeah, they were always these, little punk parts. I was on Beretta. Oh my gosh, all those shows back
Well,
then.
you
But
must
I
have
was
made
slowly getting
Beretta
bigger
look like a
roles.
midget.
Oh, I did. We
Yeah.
later became next door neighbors out in Hidden Hills, and we used
You're
to go
lucky.
riding together.
You're lucky you weren't standing near his wife.
No, oh, oh, we could talk.
Yeah, we could.
I remember I won't say what he said to me, but I remember walking on the set my first day with Sally Kirkland was playing and we were a couple of biker kids. And I was part of a gang that was doing hits for the mob. They'd drive by on their motorcycle and shoot some guy on a park bench and take off, right? So, and Sally was my gun mall, she was on the back of my motorcycle. But anyway, Robert Blake was very intimidating. He walked up to me, hey kid, they tell me you're a good actor. I think and I won't say it. He thought I was shit. There you go.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Well,
And I'll tell you something, my knees started wobbling. I said, here's a guy we watched at home on television.
Yeah.
Beretta, I love that show. I later got to know him only because we lived near each other, and he never remembered that incident. So anyway, but yeah, I just started working that way, Richard, and that was it. And
young guy, 3 episodes of Hawaii Five-O. That must not have been terrible work, right?
I want to tell you, and that was the time to go to Hawaii because they would put you up at I forget the hotel, and you were there 7 days for an episode. So once again, I was a punk. I was trying to parachute. I was skydiving and parachuting heroin into Honolulu and things like
Of
that.
course you were.
Of course I
Book him,
was.
Dano. Book him.
Yes, I was. But so, it was crazy. But I would go there, and then I'd call my agent back, the day before, and I say, "Is there anything you need me for in a week or so?" Because I made friends with all the crew guys,
Right,
all the
right.
others, and I bummed around the islands for like a couple weeks, and then went back. I had an open ticket, and I bummed around the islands and got to know Hawaii.
And what island did you shoot on?
Mainly, we were on Oahu.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was all on Oahu in those days. Yeah.
This was Jack Lord.
Right.
What a character he was.
I bet.
He was.
First, after sixth grade graduation, we went on our first big vacation as a family. We went to Hawaii. We were in Waikiki, and they were shooting an episode of Hawaii Five-0. It was
Yes.
called Wooden Model of a Rat. I'll never forget the name of the episode. And I watched them shoot in our hotel lobby and everything. And I said,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. That's cool.
It is, I'll tell you. I had a ball. I mean, met a lot of girls and all that sort of thing, and sort of bummed around and island to island. I just knew it was so many of the people, especially crew people, and met other people, and it was fun. And then I went back to the mainland and tried to get another job.
Did you just do the one episode?
No, I did three, I think. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, the first one we were on the Big Island, Bobby, and we were on the Parker Ranch, probably the second, I think, at the time, largest cattle ranch in the United States.
Wow.
And Leslie Nielsen played my father, and he was I was the college boy, and Perry King played the son that stayed behind on the ranch.
Right.
And I came flying in. I was killed within probably 10 minutes of the show's opening. Then they gave me a bigger role later on. But it was fun television to do. Beretta
Yeah.
was fun to do, despite Robert's way. And I did a lot of guest shots and pilots and stuff like that. Little guest shots.
But then you had a bunch of hit TV series too.
Yeah, my first break was, and I'll be eternally thankful to the man, James Arness, and I've probably told this ad nauseum on many things, but he was, after 20 years of Gunsmoke, he went over to MGM and they got in a deal with Eva Marie Saint and her husband, and the Gunsmoke, a lot of the Gunsmoke people came over to MGM, and they had this new project called the Macahans, and it was going to be casting. It was going to be a big epic Western. They were shooting entirely on location. I probably told you this times before, Bobby. I always love hearing Bob talk about doing the Cowboys. So, no, Bobby, you can always tell that, and I listen to that story like it's the first time every time. So that's how good it is. But but Arness saw something, and he saw my screen tests, and I had to do two of them, and to play his nephew in the show. But we had these amazing actors, Eva Marie Saint, Academy Award winner, On the Waterfront, I think, and Richard Kiley, Man of La Mancha. He created that role on Broadway. All these great actors who had also done many, many Gunsmokes, and he saw something in me there, and there were supposed to be four kids, and in the show, and I was to play the oldest son. And he said, "No, I like this kid." The head of ABC wanted another actor to play this role. He was a soap star at the time, and they wanted to bring him up into prime time. ABC did, and Jim stuck to his guns. And if you don't believe me, all of this is on the History of the Television Archives, an interview with James Arness. He talks about
That's so
casting
cool,
Burt Reynolds in the show, and also me. So anyway, he stuck to it, and he insisted that I get the role. And I spent the next 3 years learning television
Right.
from a man who certainly knew it.
Well,
And
what
it
an
was to
incredible
be.
opportunity.
It was, and it was a big epic Western. Then it was changed to called How the West Was Won, since they, MGM owned that title from the 1962 epic film.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then that was it. That was my first big break, and I worked in television. I'm very fortunate to keep working for a long, long time.
Where did you shoot most of your television? Which studio?
I was mainly out in the valley, Bob. I spent most of my time. I love Warner Brothers, always
And
did.
that's where you did
Even
most
when
of
it
it?
was the TBS. What's that?
Uh-huh. The TBS, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
which
was
shows were
the
that? Was it
Burbank
talking about
studio.
like Scarecrow and Mrs. King, or
Yeah, Scarecrow and Mrs. King was that was our. I did a brief. I had a brief outing on my own in 1982. It was called Bring 'Em Back Alive, and it was Raiders of the Lost Ark for TV.
oh
And there was
wow,
another one called Tales of the Gold, pardon me, the Gold Monkey with Stephen Collins in it. And neither of us lasted, but CBS liked me, and we tried to find this other project. And Kate Jackson had this one, Kate of Charlie's Angels fame,
Yeah.
and it clicked. It clicked for 4 years, and I just saw her, guys, before I left for Tennessee, uh, almost 2 months ago now. I hadn't seen her in 38 years, and I was
wow.
at this thing called the Hollywood show over at big Scarecrow and Mrs. King reunion. They have all these wonderful women that are fan clubs and everything like that. And I have to tell you, it was remarkably emotional to see her because she's had a lot of health issues over the years. That's why the show had to go off. I think I'm not telling anything out of school here. She had been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh,
And
wow.
in the 1980s, not only was that probably a death sentence for an acting career, it certainly was a death sentence.
Right.
And
That show's over by Hollywood Burbank Airport, right?
yes, it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I've been to that
And
show.
it was a very special weekend. And we just cried. She just held on to me and cried and cried and cried. And I have to say, I shed a few tears because I had not seen or talked to her in 38 years. I mean, it's close to 40 years. I mean,
Where did it go? And all that emotion. We were talking about this. We just did another episode with an old friend of mine.
yeah.
We did a movie together 27 years ago, and maybe we've spoken a couple of times in between. One of the great things about doing this show is we're connecting friends again. Connecting the dots and archiving it forever, and also maybe the fans seem to enjoy it, especially speaking to a legend like you about this sort of stuff. And so if you hadn't talked to her in like 38 years and then there was all that emotion, I'm sure making the show together was special. There was a connection.
Was because it was very much so. That show, the hours on television, I kind of laugh a little bit what they call a television season nowadays. Could be 6 episodes. We did, as you remember, it was 22
Yeah, it's
on the air.
22 to 26.
Yep, yep. And you spent 14, 15 hours together every day.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you were the title, so we had to. We had a marvelous supporting cast, but you had to make it, And there was a lot of stiff competition at that time, and I just knew when I read this script and I had the screen test for it with her, for all the head honchos at CBS, and we actually made those jaded television people laugh out loud in the room. I'll never forget that because these people have seen everything, everything that walked through those doors, all the big leaders there. And
Well, also, they never show their hand.
yeah, right, right.
So you got them to
Exactly.
laugh. That's amazing.
Yeah, to actually get them to, and so that was a thrilling part, and that was another big leap for me. And but yeah, when you don't see somebody like that, and Robert, you know that we've lost a lot of people,
Yeah.
yourself, people that we've all known, and I was never so glad to see that woman. I swear.
That's so great, man. What a
And we
great.
looked into the faces of all those fans sitting out there when we had the big panel that they do.
Oh, that's great.
Out there looking at these women and some of their husbands and stuff, and mostly older, middle-aged and older, and there was mothers and daughters there, because it really appealed to women. like Remington Steele did, and Heart to Heart,
Uh-huh.
and all those
Yep.
shows of that period. But looking into their faces out there, I had to remark to them, I said, I saw so many of you going back in time,
Oh,
going back to sitting with your mom watching this show, or with your mom and dad, or the whole family. And it was so true. They were sobbing out there.
wow.
So you can tell the experience is kind of fresh to me still. But
That's beautiful.
anyway, that's one of the great things, and so, but
We're not working in an emergency room saving kids' lives, but if you're making
no,
people feel better, that's a good deed
nothing
as
wrong with
well.
that, is there?
Nothing's wrong with that. And I know
You can
another
take them out of their
another
lives.
show that you
Yeah.
were on for a good while that I'm sure has enthusiastic fans. Babylon 5, the sci-fi fans
Yes.
are
Yeah,
always
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was doing a lot of the MOWs. You guys remember those, the movies of
Oh
the
yeah,
week. It was first of all, we had all the miniseries. When that
Yes.
started to fade away, TV was making those, 2-hour movies of the week. It was a big genre. And and when I would get one, I was always having to go to Canada. I was always having to go someplace else. And that got a little thin after a while. So I knew this old guy, Doug Netter. I had done a Western with Sam Elliott in 1979 called Wild Times. And he produced it. This Doug Netter produced it, and a guy named John Copeland as well. And they were the producers, other than the creator of Babylon 5. They were the other executive producers. And something had happened to the lead actor, the commander of the space station. It was all about this space station out there. It was Fort Apache in outer space, okay? And
Yeah.
it was kind of militaristic. I mean, we had to play Earth Force and all that kind of thing. But it was I watched Star Trek a few times. I liked it, but I never thought I would ever do any of those type of things. And I was looking for something to stay home. If I could get it in a series that I could stay home for a while, sleep in my own bed, be with
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
kids. I was missing my kids growing up, always having to go. Okay, wow, but it got a little wear and tear. I was making a good living for them, but not seeing them. And Babylon 5 came along, and Doug Netter, Warner Brothers wanted somebody, and I had done Scarecrow and Mrs. King for Warner Brothers and Bring 'Em Back Alive, and I got an offer to do it, and I think it went out to a few other people before me even, but I got an offer to do it, and I looked at it and I said, it's different from Star Trek. It's got a reality. You could tell that it was not as expensive as Star Trek, okay? But Star Trek was all bright light and optimism, and I mean, they even lit. There was never a shadow on a Star Trek soundstage. I mean, they lit that thing over there at Paramount. And but it kind of that was the tone, the opposite on Babylon 5. We had dark alleyways. There was always this impending doom that wherever human beings go, we drag our sorry baggage with us. And um, and there were these other races that there was constant warfare between. And he borrowed Joseph Michael Straczynski is the creator's name, and the man was a genius. Is a genius. He's still around. And uh, anyway, this character of John Sheridan, I got to experience as I came in playing a young commander that is given this responsibility as a starship commander, and he is given the opportunity to command a gigantic space station 5 miles long with like 50,000 residents and stuff, and constant. It was a place of merchants and things like that. It was like a crossroads in space, a Casablanca to Fort Apache,
there you go.
And so anyway, he gets to become this the commander of that, and we had a wonderful cast, huge cast ensemble, and yes, sir,
Including
go.
my very good friend Claudia Christian.
And Claudia, who I still see quite often doing the Comic Cons and stuff like that. We were a year ago, almost a year, 2 years ago, we were in Poland together and at Comic Con there. Yes, I love Claudia. Um, but yeah, so I said, this is going to answer what I need right now. The scripts were incredible. The first time I got into it, I'd been kind of a science fiction fan. Certainly, I think I was one of the thousands that met for Star Wars, and certainly Tron was a
Well, Tron, I mean,
terrific science
Yeah,
fiction.
Tron. I
So,
mean, what
not
a
too
film.
many, first of all, to make any kind of a living in this business is an unbelievable blessing. And then
oh,
to be on, have a couple of guest spots, you're beating all the Vegas odds. Then getting one TV series, then having a dozens of movies, of several TV series, and also to be an iconic theatrical movie. Tron is
yes.
Tron.
Yeah, Tron is. It is. It's literally in its own cute little way. It predicted the world that we were actually going to start to live in, the world of the internet.
How is Jeff?
I love Jeff. I still
Oh,
do.
good. I was hoping.
Brother of another mother.
Yeah.
I worked with his father on How the West Was Won. Lloyd.
Okay.
Lloyd had a big, like four-story arc, four big episodes of that show, and he always used to say to me, "You remind me of my son Jeff." And little did I know that, let's see, we finished about 3 years later. Yeah, 3 years or so later, Jeff and I would be doing Tron together. And I believe the new one is coming out soon, Tron Ares. I'm not in that one. I think it was smart to move on. I think Jeff has a cameo in it. Um, I did Tron Legacy and then an original one. So I'm anxious. I want fans to
Tron
see.
Legacy, I think, even was bigger than the first one.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it did. But yet, I prefer the first one. Now, not only
Right.
because but because there was something incredibly. Nothing has looked like it since. We
No,
had we had these artists like Sid Mead and guys who were these futurists, and I think Sid Mead also did Blade Runner. He did what the look of Blade Runner was going to be. Okay,
yeah.
how different science fiction could you be? You know, but what is the world inside of a video game? Well, you
Yeah.
guys
I
know
mean,
that,
that's
video
what.
games were the biggest thing. Arcade games.
Yeah.
Right. Now they're working on basically turning movies into video games. They might not need any of us soon.
I know, I know. I'm sorry to say, maybe I was in at the earliest part of replacing all of this. I played the computer programmer, Alan Bradley, and my program, Tron.
Yeah. Well, that program that you guys came up with, I will never
Yeah,
forget that. That's emblazoned on my brain.
it
That
was,
that
it
look, it
was.
was incredible.
I had to train with I know you might giggle at this, but I had to train with a frisbee expert, a competition frisbee expert, because you remember frisbees? They were not the soft, pliable one, that hard rubber one. You
Yeah.
could really hurt
Whammo
something with
Frisbee.
that.
Yeah.
Whammo.
Yeah, I mean, hard things. And I out in my horse corral, I had horses then, and I had a corral, and it was pretty sandy and everything, loose dirt. And he would come out to my house, and I trained for 3 months to throw that thing every which way, right-handed, left-handed, catch it under my leg, catch it over my head, um, all kinds of things. And of course, like when you're jogging on the beach, it is like that much harder work. So it put me in really lean shape. And then I went
Yep.
up and ran 3 miles every morning before work. Um, but I had to learn to do all those things. So those fights, when you saw the early CGI take the disc and do some loop to the loop around me or something like that, that was CGI. Otherwise, it was a guy named Sam Schott. I found that name kind of ironic. Schott. I mean, he was throwing them at me harder, as full on. And my proudest moment in Tron in one of those fight scenes is I literally caught it over my head.
Whoa.
That's cool.
and I brought it down like this with a smirk on my face. I was so proud of that. And I looked up at him like, F you,
Yeah.
And they kept it in the movie. But yeah, but Jeff Bridges, the dude himself, come
Yeah,
on.
the dude himself. Yeah, he's a
No,
bit of a friend of Keith's and a
yeah, I would
little
think
bit of
so.
mine. And
Yeah.
when we were doing the Long Riders, we wanted Jeff and Bo to play the Ford brothers.
Oh,
And Jeff
yeah.
said, "I don't want to be the guy that shoots Jesse James in the back," so we couldn't get him.
Jeff has a code of honor that's all his own.
Yes.
He does. He does. I love the guy. We had when we did Tron Legacy, we shot the entire thing in Vancouver,
Ah,
and our hero was back in Vancouver again.
yeah.
And we went out to a Leonard Cohen concert,
Wow.
and here I am with the dude, and we had like 10th row center.
Oh,
It's
beautiful.
just perfect up at the
Yeah.
big Canada Place Center there. And well, let's just say all we had to do was breathe. And
Wow.
but we had a ball up there in that short amount of time that we had off there. But and then we went backstage to meet Leonard, which was a thrill.
Did
And
he did he do Hallelujah?
oh gosh, yeah, oh yeah,
Oh, that's
that's
great.
his signature beautiful song.
Right.
And he had this incredible band with him, and a couple of these chick singers that were just amazing.
Wow.
But it was a great show. And Jeff is going, "Come on, man, come on, man. He's a fucking poet." He's screaming. We were higher than kites and loving every minute of it.
Oh,
And
that's great. It's great,
you know,
man.
you wait, and nobody. We didn't walk in there high, but we didn't. We walked out. I'll tell you, water out. But that movie too. That was such a. That was after what 28 years. And it was great to sort of revisit. I was only briefly in it, but I was fine with that. I had to play the bad guy. Oh my God, what was the name of the? He had turned Tron into the dark side. Clue. What's his name?
Now,
Yeah,
you gave us such a beautiful description of that night going out with Jeff and seeing Leonard Cohen
yeah,
and that
yeah.
amazing. So, what would be more peak? What was more of a peak moment? That evening or presenting the Wrangler Award with Bobby in Oklahoma?
Oh my gosh, no doubt. Hanging out with Jeff.
Oh, we were so
Bobby,
good,
was I
weren't
going
we,
to go
Bruce?
there? We had a ball. We've
Yeah.
always had fun. Robert's been fun. I mean, we've gone out riding in those incredible Alabama
Oklahoma
hills
mountains. Oh
Friday.
God.
My gosh.
Hey, I
No,
wanted to ask you,
we've had a
Bruce,
lot of adventures. We've had, Robert.
what's your favorite movie or TV show?
Well, it depends on what time in my life. I don't of currently right now or
No, just like if you look back over your career, did you have one that really stuck out?
I think he means one that you did. Yeah, the
oh
most
that I
meaningful
did.
to you. Yeah.
Um, I would probably have to say the most exciting time and that changed my life would have been How the West Was Won because I also met my first wife and I have two wonderful, wonderful sons with
Oh,
her. And
that's sweet.
it was the beginning for me. It was the beginning for us then, even though the producers, she played my sister, and there was the big joke always on incest in the West. But, but
Great.
you know, but I have to say that because I literally learned the ropes. And James Arness, if he was alive, he was a very shy man and a very reluctant, but I watched him. I watched every move he did. I listened to everything he ever told me. And I just learned what I think the responsibility of being the leading role in a television series.
Yeah,
There is
There
a
you go.
responsibility. It can be, depending on you, it can be a good day or it can be a very long, dull, bad day for everybody.
did you shoot that out here?
It was, yeah. I found Hidden Hills by driving out that way. That's where I ended up living after that.
Wow.
Last year of it. Last year of
Uh-huh.
it. We found a small ranch house, and It was perfect then. Um,
Well, Hidden
but
Hills is a brand new place now.
it's a very different place now.
Very different
Richard.
place
I
now.
agree
In
with
fact,
you.
Bobby and I were just at a party there, a Jaws party last week, but in
Really?
one of the more
Really?
original houses. But you drive down those streets now, if they let you in,
Yeah,
it's millions and millions of dollars.
they got better security than Homeland Security or any of those.
Oh yeah, and they've all got gates.
Yes, they do. They all do. But
Well,
no,
you know,
I think,
we all
it
need them.
happened.
That's a smart move outside of Nashville. I mean,
I
you know,
live
in fact,
here.
so many and a lot of movie people are moving there. Our agent moved out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I know our friend Gary Sinise moved out there. All kinds of
Gary's a good friend of mine as well. Yes.
actors moved out there.
Dennis Quaid moved out there.
Dennis is out here.
Trisha Heaton.
oh my
and
gosh.
a bunch of them. But we've
I know Jill
Tanya
Wagner.
Tucker.
I know a bunch of actresses that I played their fathers or
Danica McKellar moved out there too.
Danica's out here as well.
Yeah.
As well. There's an expat community here. It's and there's a Wi-Fi thing, CA expats, expatriates. And everybody has a different reason, by the way.
You got a lake.
Go ahead.
I've got a lake. I live right on a lake. I have one of the prominent docks on it. It's got catfish, bass, bluegill, and crappies. And they say there's a legendary northern pike going around killing off half the population. No, actually, it has so many fish. We also have this. We have beaver. And last night I went down there and found out underneath my dock, some beaver has been stowing away branches. Somebody's pile of firewood has been absconded with, and it's building up underneath my dock. I'm going to have to do. There've been beavers. We have river otters. They're so fun to watch. And then I get these herons that stand, blue herons that stand on my dock, statuesque, and then they leave you a little pile of poop, and then I got to go down there and watch.
On that note, I think we've probably taken up more of your time than you thought. We really, really
No, I'm
appreciate
fine.
it.
I'm fine.
Thank you,
I
ladies.
hope I answered anything you wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce.
anyway, it's Robert. Are you going to go up to Lone Pine? You are.
I am. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'll
I will
there,
see
man.
you up there.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to come out and stay with Rob if
Yeah.
Laura won't throw me out or anything. And no,
Well, as
I'm
soon
gonna
as you
stay
get
with
here,
him.
let me know, man. We'll go to lunch.
You betcha. I will.
Bruce, nice to actually formally meet you.
Yes,
And
you
thank
too.
you
Richard.
again for coming on the show.
Thank
I'm a
you.
huge fan, and look. We have 97 shared connections. It's time we actually work together.
Absolutely. Well, you know where to find me. So
Absolutely.
would you please say hi to your brother for me? Okay.
I shall. I will.
Yeah, I enjoyed our time when we were all in Oklahoma together, and
Yes.
it's the most, I'd met him before, but that's the most I ever got to sit down and talk to him. I've always been a big fan of Keith as well. So,
Oh, that's great, Bruce. Him too. You, by the way.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thanks again, Bruce. Great to meet you, Bobby. Another show in the books.
Richard.
you
Ladies
go.
and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Party Nerds Podcast. We will see you next time. Like, subscribe.
Yay!